Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into something pretty fundamental today. This age-old quest, really, for perfect indoor air and, the perfect night's sleep. Engineers, designers, doctors, people have been trying to crack this for literally millennia. How do you seal a bedroom against noise, pollen, pollution, but keep the air inside fresh and full of oxygen?
Right. That's a classic problem. Seal it tight and you run out of air, open it up, and everything bad comes in.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we got our hands on some, let's say, unusual source material. It's this document called Master's Insight, #067. And it basically says, forget your fancy HVAC, forget your air purifiers. The real answer, it claims, is startlingly simple, like really simple.
Yeah.
And, well, globally overlooked. Plus, it comes with some genuinely extreme claims about health, longevity, even destiny.
It's fascinating stuff. So our mission for you listening is to really get into this paradox, because this document, it works on two levels, doesn't it? You've got this practical, almost DIY design solution for better air, low cost, easy, and then layered right on top, there's this profound, almost theological reason for why we're supposedly only finding it now. It's this weird mix of like engineering specs and divine revelation.
Yeah, weird mix is a good way to put it.
For context, it doesn't read like a typical science paper at all. It's more like a philosophical manifesto, but it uses very technical language sometimes to frame what is ultimately a spiritual claim about wellness. So we need to dissect the core idea, look at the benefits it promises you, and then tackle this really remarkable explanation for how it came about.
Okay, let's jump right into the solution itself then. What is it? The source calls it the nose of the door. Sleep little heaven, which is quite a name. And the mechanism they describe is, almost laughably simple compared to modern ventilation systems. The claim is basically this. You drill a specific small hole in the bottom of your bedroom door. And just by doing that, you create what they call a sealed, quiet room that, crucially, never runs out of oxygen, which, immediately sounds kind of too good to be true, right? Especially with modern houses built so airtight. CO2 buildup is a real thing.
It is. But what's crucial here, and this is the technical bit we need to pull out for you, is the physics behind it, or at least the physics they claim. This small hole, it isn't really meant for, big gusts of air exchange. It's designed for pressure equilibrium.
Okay, pressure equilibrium.
Yeah. So you close a solid modern door, right? You basically seal the room, you breathe, oxygen goes down, CO2 goes up, standard stuff. Normally you'd think, okay, got to crack a window, but that lets in noise, pollution, all that. This source says no. This small, precisely placed opening acts like a passive regulator, a tiny port. It allows air displacement to happen silently. So fresh air gets gently drawn in from the hallway or the next room, which is usually a bigger space, maybe better ventilated anyway, to replace the air you've used up in the bedroom. And because the hole is small and it's low down, it supposedly doesn't wreck the sound insulation like an open window or a bad vent would. It essentially turns the door, normally just a barrier, into part of the ventilation system, a functional part.
Wow. Okay. That immediately makes their accessibility point make more sense. Think about the cost, right? A proper ducted ventilation system. Thousands of dollars. Major renovation work.
Big job.
Versus
What?
a power drill, a cheap hole saw bit from the hardware store, maybe $10. So that claim of no home renovation, no high cost, suddenly that sounds, pretty compelling.
Very compelling.
And then you look at the specific benefits the source lists. It's like a checklist of everything people complain about with modern sleep.
Right. Let's tick them off. First, they say toxin exclusion, because you're pulling air from inside the house, not outside.
Okay.
You don't need to open windows. So outdoor stuff stays out, pollen, traffic fumes, noise, locked out.
That makes sense.
Second, the big one, air purity. By stopping that oxygen depletion and CO2 buildup, the idea is the air stays pure and breathable all night long.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Yeah, that's huge for sleep quality. And this next one is important if you've got, modern climate control already. It ensures stable HVAC balance. It doesn't mess with your AC or heating because, think about it, if you crack a window when the AC is blasting, you're just throwing money away, right?
Absolutely. Total waste.
This little door hole thing lets the room stay sealed for temperature control. Maintains that balance.
Supposedly, yeah. Maintains the airflow the system is designed for.
Okay, but now, let's talk about the really extreme payoff they claim. The source doesn't just promise, better sleep. It literally says it delivers youth, longevity, and true sleep.
Yeah.
It's quite a leap from a hole in the door. This is where the engineering bit seems to veer off into, something else. Could we take that literally?
Probably not literally, no. I think we need to see that language as rhetorical, maybe hyperbolic. The source uses these really big words, youth, longevity, to hammer home just how bad they think chronic sleep deprivation is.
It's like they're saying, okay, maybe the hole itself won't make you live forever.
But getting true sleep, deep, toxin-free, oxygen-rich sleep, maybe that is the missing key for long-term health. It elevates the solution, from just a clever design tweak to something fundamental for human well-being.
Okay, framing it like that helps.
Yeah, it positions this tiny, simple hole as this massive breakthrough, something that fixes, 4,000 years of humans sleeping in badly designed spaces. It's basically claiming to solve generations of suffering from bad air quality during sleep.
That's a huge claim, a really huge assertion. But, okay, it brings us right to the most interesting question, doesn't it? The one that connects the practical and the spiritual. If this solution is so simple, just basic air pressure stuff we've known about for ages, why? Why did thousands of years of smart architects, builders, engineers just completely miss it?
Right. And the source anticipates that exact question, that skepticism. But instead of saying, oh, engineers were just too focused on complex systems or something technical, it gives a spiritual answer. It says it was divine restriction.
Divine restriction?
Yeah. The author flat out rejects the idea that no one thought of it. Instead, they insist the truth was no one was allowed to think of it. They specifically push back against interpretations like, oh, it was too simple to seem professional, or there was no business model for it. Nope. They say it's a divine structural revelation, a gift.
That's a very deliberate framing, isn't it? A really powerful claim. So the idea was sealed within humanity's forehead, is the quote, I think. And the living Lord chose to unseal it, specifically through this author, Fuchiwu the Master.
That's the narrative presented, yes.
It creates this incredible juxtaposition, though. I mean, on one hand, you need a basic drill from a hardware store. On the other, you need an act of divine revelation to even conceive of using it that way. But then, if it's really a sacred gift for restful, toxin-free sleep, why file patents? That seems like a contradiction, doesn't it? A free divine gift versus intellectual property.
Well, the source seems to embrace that tension. It makes the whole thing quite compelling, actually. The author clearly states the nose of the door is also a divine test. So drilling the hole isn't just, a practical fix. It's framed as acknowledging the revelation itself. The source claims humanity was, quote, simply never permitted to figure this obvious thing out until right now. It frames this simple hole as a path drawn by the Lord himself, the passage of air, the extension of life, the holy road to sleep. Pretty intense language.
Very intense.
They're basically saying a fundamental physical principle related to indoor air was just switched off from human awareness, blocked.
Okay. So how does this very metaphysical story then crash into the real world? The world of engineering, patents, legal stuff. Because the source does provide concrete details too, right? It grounds these big claims.
It does, yeah. Exactly. It gives you specifics. The authors are listed, Fuchiwu, Master, and a co-author, Junshi Dage. And it's dated very specifically, July 6, 2025, which anchors this revelation to a precise point in our near future, apparently.
Right. And the big one, the patent, it actually cites a U.S. patent number, US 826A058B2. And the title is High Efficiency Labyrinth Air Treatment Device. Now, that doesn't sound like just a simple hole.
Exactly. This is where we might resolve that paradox you mentioned, the simple hole versus the complex claim, the divine gift versus the patent. If the simple hole is the nose, the divine nostril opening the way, maybe the labyrinth air treatment device is the sleep little heaven part.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, the hole itself creates that passive pressure difference, right? Ensuring air moves from the hallway. But hallway air, especially in a modern home, it's not always perfectly clean either, is it? Dust, maybe cleaning product fumes, whatever.
Sure.
So the source seems to suggest that this simple door hole provides the stable, gentle intake needed for this patented labyrinth device to work really well. This device might be a highly efficient, maybe small-scale filter or some kind of air diffusion system located near the hole. The hole is the elegant bit, the trigger, the divine insight that makes the more complex patented system viable and efficient inside that sealed room. And the document also notes multiple patent applications pending. So they're definitely trying to integrate this insight into a commercial engineered product.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense. It's a synthesis. The hole is the revelation, the key enabler. The patent is the sophisticated mechanism that uses that enabled airflow. So the author isn't just selling, like, another air filter. They're positioning this whole concept as a trigger for awakening.
Yeah.
The goal is making bedrooms into his appointed sanctuaries on Earth. It's using this simple mechanical means, combined with the tech, to achieve a spiritual goal of purity.
That seems to be the core argument, yes. So to summarize for you, the listener, there are really two key takeaways here. On a functional level, the source argues that this tiny strategic hole in a door is the most effective, lowest cost way to get passive, quiet, pure indoor air, a real alternative to complex systems. And then, metaphysically, the author wraps this simplicity in this narrative of divine timing, a fundamental truth withheld by God until this specific moment of revelation.
It's a pretty phenomenal case study, isn't it? How a deep belief system can totally reframe a purely mechanical engineering idea. It turns a simple hole saw cut into something cosmically significant.
Quite something.
Okay, so that leaves us with our final thought for you to chew on. Let's just entertain the source's premise for a second. If the simplest, most elegant solution to a universal human problem like breathing clean air while sleeping was actually sealed away from us, maybe by divine restriction, maybe just by collective oversight, then how much of our effort today is maybe wasted on really complex, expensive workarounds for problems that might have simple fixes? What other really obvious essential solutions might be sitting right under our noses, just waiting? Waiting not for some huge tech leap, but maybe just for permission or the right way to finally see them.